All right, and welcome everybody to our July meeting of WordPress Web Help Meetup. We're all here because we're users at various points in our evolution as WordPress aficionados and maybe slaves. And let me see, somebody else is coming in. Yeah, Brendan's here. And we always have some great opinions and great insight. And so far, we haven't got any newbies. So I do encourage you, if it makes for a more interesting replay, because I do put the replay up on my meetup, on my YouTube, which is at Brass Ring Edward. You'll find it there, and as well as past replays. But it's always more fun if we see your faces. So one thing that I'm realizing I was remiss in not explaining the image on my background. The gentleman in front of the flag is Mike Noder, a longtime member of this group who we lost to a tragic, senseless accident a little over a month ago. And so I just thought we'd have Mike be part of our meeting for a while. I don't know how long he'll be up there, but he certainly was a very generous participant in this group, and he started the Woo Wednesday group, which continues on. I believe Eagle has continued that one on. Yep. So that is Mike, and Mike, we'll miss you. We usually start out by asking anybody if they have an issue, something that's grating on them, something that they want to throw out on the table for help. We'll put it up there as a topic, and then we can attack it as we get into the meeting. Anybody got anything they want to put to the panel? It's okay if you don't. And this can also be business issues, because this is as developers, we are business people as well, and we may have questions and issues that have nothing to do with WordPress, but they have a whole lot in our conveying WordPress into the world, or just conveying web design, digital marketing, hosting, whatever our expertise may be. Looks like Doug's got his hand up. What do you got for us, man?
That was an invitation for questions pertaining to WordPress to everyone here, just to kind of have conversation, or did I miss that? I apologize.
Yeah, we give everybody, because I mean, this is ideally this would be a nice mix of advanced users and neophytes. And sometimes the neophytes have something that they need to solve, and we're a great resource for that.
I got two things then.
And don't do that in England, man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Two different topics. One's WordPress 7 related with a particular plugin that I've been messing with, and I'm not sure why I have a conflict there, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. But I'm curious what AI tools people like that are within the framework of using it with WordPress, whether it's for marketing, content management, creating custom plugins, whatever it might be. I'm just curious what people are using and that they like.
Well, I can assure you that we're going to be absolutely attacking that when we get into the discussion portion of this, because WordPress 7.0 is all about bringing AI in a major way into the core, and
I can be patient for that topic.
No, good. I think it'll be worth your while to wait.
And then
what was the other one?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any answers here, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. is I was testing with, and I have a particular use case for Fluent boards, which is a Trello um, alternative. And it's a plugin for WordPress, which is actually kind of cool. But for some reason, and I didn't spend time to evaluate it more and figure out why, I just reverted back out of 7.0. It was having a conflict with 7.0. And so I went back to the last version, 6.9, whatever, 6.9.4, whatever it was of WordPress, just so it would work for a particular group of people to look at it. But I was just curious if there might be anything out there of why that might be the case, or I don't know. Fluent's usually on top of stuff, so I'm not quite sure why it wasn't working after it wasn't the day 7.0 was released or anything. So I don't know.
That
I
sounds
thought
good. No, well, we can definitely tackle that. Um, let's go ahead and do a quick round of introductions. Um, they're not quite as fast as your intros. Doug hosts a networking group that I attend all too infrequently lately over in Mission Valley.
tomorrow.
And boy, oh boy, he is the time wrangler, man. He's got, part of the whole networking idea is to get competent at introducing ourselves, giving a pitch, basically the Uber elevator pitch, and he runs a tight ship over there. So we're going to do a minute. Tell us who you are, where you're at, what it is you do, why you're here, any particular groups, ideas that you might have for our group that we can tackle in future episodes or meetings. And, like Doug was saying, your biggest WordPress or business challenge. So I'll put that in the chat, and I'm going to pick on you guys in the order that I see you on my screen, which means that Mr. Kinsey is in the hot seat. Go ahead, Steve.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. My name's Steve. I'm from San Bernardino and have a small agency for 14 and a half years. Partner is in Bangkok, but he's American, and I have a few other meetups. I do the second Thursday IEWP help desk, and I run or I co-chair some Elementor meetups, first Monday and first and third Tuesday. And yeah, I'm into AI and making things better for people. Why am I here? Because it's in Southern California, and I try to support the network. So that's it.
Cool. And I'll remind everybody that we do allow you to put your contact information in the chat. And I encourage you to save the chat before you leave, because there are some good alliances here. If you need partners for projects, getting past a particular technical ceiling that you might run across, we've got a good resource of guys. I forgot to say welcome to Brendan. Brendan, it's good to see you, man. So with that, I will go on to Mr. Shargle. David, you're on.
Oh man, hello from outside in Portland, Oregon. It's a nice day. I do computer stuff. I learned last week. Yeah, I learned last week that, all right, don't judge me now, okay? I'm gonna age myself.
I make no
I
promises.
de I debugged my first line of code 48 years ago on the July 4th weekend. So, yeah, it's insane. And I stopped programming and I started programming again 2 years ago. And I don't build websites in WordPress anymore, but I still maintain a bunch. So I spend a lot of time in usually in main WP more than anything else. I built the website 2 days ago in about 2 hours, which is insane that you can do that now. And editing content now, that's what I'm doing. Content editing tonight. And yesterday I went to the Oregon Country Fair. Anybody been to Oregon Country Fair? Oh,
No, sounds intriguing. What town's it in?
nah. It's in a town called Veneta, Oregon. It's outside of Salem, Oregon. And it is the closest thing to Woodstock in New York. It's a combination of 1969 Woodstock and Burning Man. My second
Wow.
year going, my second year going, and it's insane. So, so I'm covered in dust still.
I
I
would
took a shower
expect
this
no
morning.
less from Oregon.
Mm, dude, it is like so representative of Oregon.
Nice.
It is Oregon. Anyway, that's me.
All right. All right. Brendan, you're up.
Hey, I'm Brendan O'Connell. I'm down here in San Diego, in Mission Valley, and I am, WordPress developer, agency owner. Been building with WordPress for I don't know how long, but yeah, also kind of expanding beyond that. Been building Astro sites recently and getting into the whole Cloudflare stack. Uh, Building with a lot of AI automation, building with Hermes every single day. Been loving that. Um, yeah, I mean, and just kind of getting into the whole sphere of whatever's coming at me. There's a lot of new things that we are presented with, and I've been loving it. So that's what I do.
Cool. Always good to have you in the room, sir. And Lance.
Hi, I'm Lance. I make websites. Not really much more to say. Sorry. Not as exciting as the rest of you.
I don't think you're going to have to pull a yellow card on that one, Doug. Yeah?
I think
Nothing to
I'm
put.
the. I think he's more interesting than I am.
Well, let's see whether that's true or not.
You're
You're
mistaken.
up.
Most people are boring.
Doug
You're up,
means
Doug.
do read my business is regional internet, do website hosting, domain name registration since 1999. Most of it's on a lamp stack, etc. I have my own dedicated root servers I've been doing for a while, but I also have some partners since then. So I have different things for different clients. Um, I 98% of the new websites I host over the past five plus more than 5 years now is, are WordPress sites. I'm getting better at, I know the hosting side of it really well, but I've had to get better at helping people get their do-it-yourself starter sites going, um, as much as I can. I refer out to people that create sites. I don't want to compete with them. And all of a sudden I'm on a track to go over a minute here. But I've got AI tools for WordPress in case anyone wants to fart around with something, just because I have Divi AI if someone wants to fart around with that and have me connect that for them, which actually is kind of good, but the solopreneurs don't, that's too much for them as far as that interface. So I also have Zip WP subscription, which uses Spectra, etc., which is much simpler blocks. I try to stay away from the Elementor stuff for them just to keep things loading fast, but I'm not an expert at that part of it. So I'm not so much the front end and the marketing, more of the back end, the security, the performance, those things pique my curiosity. AI, of course, and helping me diagnose problems for people, among many other things. And I don't know, that's enough. And I do networking meetings. I got I don't 40 some odd meetup groups I'm the main organizer on, cross market about 15 or so in San Diego, and then Southern California, Orange County, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Orlando, Tampa, and the Philippines. And I don't think I'm that interesting. I wasn't being facetious. I really don't think I'm that interesting. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here and learn from everyone here.
Well, thank you, Doug, and we'll leave it up to the judges to decide who did
So
a better job.
judgmental. Oh my
I
gosh.
know, I know. Well, I tend to keep my judgments to myself, which is all you can expect from people, right? Go ahead and judge me. Just
You should expect that.
shut the front door. Yeah. Well, judgment, so it keeps us from walking out into traffic, right? All right, so that leaves me. I'm Edward Sanchez. I'm here in San Diego, California, where I've been building websites since the late 90s. I stepped onto the WordPress train in about 2009 and never looked back. I really loved how it allowed me to focus less on the nuts and bolts of building a website and spend more time with my clients, helping them by training them how to use their website, how to perform digital marketing, basically with this great tool we called WordPress. And that's about all you need to know about me. I put my contact in the chat, and unless somebody else pops into the meeting, with your kind permission, I would like to go on to starting our discussion and see how it goes. There's 55 points. I'm not going to belabor things too long. Full disclosure, I'm using ChatGPT to basically throw it some topics and have it put together a list of discussion points. It's sometimes a little more thorough than I would like it to be, but I'm also a little more lazy than I would like myself to be, so I don't do a great job of going through and editing it. So we're going to edit on the fly, so we're not beating you over the head with a lot of redundancy and obvious points. But with that, and very little, compared to last time, very little additional. There we go. Sorry. Let me try that again. All right. Do you see the cover slide? Somebody say yes. Yeah?
I do.
We see
Yeah.
it? Okay. Okay, good. So our official topic is how will WordPress affect me? And our first slide is obvious to us. WordPress 7.0 is already here. As a matter of fact, they dropped 7.0.1, which is kind of what I've been waiting for, that first debug to go through, because I'll admit it, I was kind of scared of it. And anytime they do a full version, I'm apprehensive, because I've had some interesting experiences with full versions screwing things up. So it did ship on May 20th. Then we got 7.0.1, like I say, just a couple days ago, right before the weekend. And it included 31 bug fixes. So it was, I'm trusting my instincts on that. So that's 31 opportunities to grit your teeth. And it's not a preview. We're not giving, the 7.0's greatest hits. We're here to talk about it and see what people have to say about it, what experience you guys have, and I encourage you to jump in. We're not going to, don't worry about putting up the virtual hand or anything like that. If you have something to add to the conversation, I mean, if it gets unruly, then we could always get it. But I know you guys do great. So I should ask, who has already updated a live site to? Oh, okay, half of us.
All my
Okay.
sites are 7.0.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. That bodes well for our conversation. So I'll jump ahead. There's four different. No, sorry, five, six, five different user types that we can answer questions for. The website owner, is my site safer, easier, or more useful? A content creator, can I work faster? Designer, do I get better control without more plugins? Developer might wonder what changed underneath the hood. And of course, business owner, what we would probably consider our newbie level is going to wonder does any of this improve results? They may or may not be running their own WordPress. Anybody have any thoughts on any or all of those? No?
No,
That's okay.
I work the same speed, and I don't really care what's under the hood of it. I mean, as long as it works personally. I mean, that's how I've always felt about the updates. Uh,
This
yeah,
being AI, I'm wondering if and it might yet to be uncovered. I mean, we all have our preferred workflows, and not that any of them are lacking, but sometimes it takes a bit to work something in, a new feature in, and so if you've come across any of that, please let us know. So let's move on to AI is now part of WordPress's core direction. A new AI client lets WordPress communicate with generative AI models. So it's actually part of the deal. Also, external AI is not excluded. They've taken pains to make it easier to have an AI that you may have been using for a while, which I think probably includes most of us here. The Abilities API opens the door to automation and AI-powered workflows, which is pretty much what I was just saying, right? The core provides the plumbing. Plugins and tools provide many actual AI features, of course. And we're going to see a lot of plugins that have AI that can now integrate themselves in better ways, and it's more homogeneous result, we hope. But stay tuned. So, discuss useful foundation or another layer of complexity. What have you guys found?
again, I don't, I maintain the sites like David said. I don't really, um, I'm not doing too much new stuff in WordPress, but as far as I have seen and maintaining and doing things, it hasn't, you know, I haven't noticed a tipping point either way.
Yeah, well, we'll take a wait and see stance.
I mean,
Yeah,
the abilities API is awesome. It's going to be a fantastic thing if you're all interested in AI. It's a good addition to WordPress. It's a little complex to use right now, but I mean, it's the as it mentions here, the plumbing is there, so uh, it's good to use.
It's finally built in.
have you messed with it, Brandon?
Yeah, yeah. A couple. I mean, it's basically up to plugin authors to expose their abilities to it, right? So, I mean, I don't know, like Metabox just added abilities to theirs. A couple like Gravity Forms, I think, is coming with their abilities. WS Form has abilities built in now, so you can interact with you can tell your agent to build a form and it'll use the abilities API via MCP to do that. So it's
Oh,
pretty
sweet.
cool.
Have you seen a library that lists like, I mean, not the individual functions that they do, but lists like who is doing stuff? Because I haven't run into anything, and you type abilities into the repository, and it's all one big mess, you know?
No, yeah, they
Yeah,
need
okay.
something like that.
Yeah, okay. All right. I wasn't sure if it existed. Right on.
All right, moving right along, because we did go kind of long last month. I'd like to keep us closer to the 90-minute mark for everybody's convenience. The dashboard. We'll talk about the dashboard. They've modernized the admin colors and cleaner visual treatment. Does everybody use the color features in the dashboard, to change? Because I always change, having multiple monitors and having ADD. I like being able to rapidly remember this is this is this site, this is the source site, this is the destination site, or this is my site that I'm using to recreate a feature, whatever. And I want to make sure that I have it properly distinguished from any other site or sites that I might have open in dashboard view. So nobody uses the colors to, no? Okay.
I switched it back on all my sites to the classic look because I can't stand the new the new colors.
Well, I always pick the most obnoxious one, and that'll be the client one, so I know that's the one I'm working on. It gets, there's no discerning that ugly red brick, whatever. It's about keeping track. Because especially when I get rolling, it's easy to sometimes do a little whoopsie, and I hate whoopsies. So smoother movement between dashboard screens. Jump in with any of these. Command palette access from the admin bar. There's a couple of shortcuts. Dedicated font management across block, hybrid, and classic themes. And visual revision browsing makes changes easier to compare and restore, which that one can be really nice. Has anybody played with the revisions feature and noticed a difference?
I didn't
No,
get
sir.
the impression that a lot of that functionality actually made it into 7. I got the impression that a lot of it was cut, like almost last minute stuff.
Mm,
Yeah.
but we're not for
Yeah.
certain.
No, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. I'm pretty sure the good stuff got cut.
What other features were you looking forward to that hasn't made it yet?
Like me,
Yeah.
you feel
Yeah,
what? I think the big thing that everybody was hoping for was um simultaneous edits, right? And a lot of people were hoping for lockdowns, like taking portions of block editor and saying a client could not edit this particular thing, like a kind of like a per post per page, you know, permissions type of thing. And those two things
interesting.
didn't make it in. And I'm pretty sure that um, the simultaneous edit, you know what I mean by simultaneous edit? It's kind of like Google Docs, right? You know what I mean? I edit and you can
Yeah,
see it
yeah,
on my
yeah.
screen, back. I think that stuff is considered to be near impossible to implement, like wide on WordPress, which is a real bummer. It's in Gutenberg. It's been in Gutenberg, dude. I think Steve and I were at the last WordCamp, so it's been in Gutenberg for almost a year now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been in WordPress WIP, the VIP service. It's been in there for almost a year, but not in 7. So I think that's what a lot of people are looking forward to.
Give me a for instance where you wouldn't want your client to access something in the dashboard and the edit level.
Like an example that I could use or could have used at some point. I have um I have this thing where I'm able to have conversions. I have a setup and a couple of pages on an X client's website that I developed that used the block visibility plugin, and that changed a page depending on what came from a Google ad. That makes sense? And they were touching it. And there were portions of it that I was like, that's okay that you edit. And there were portions of it that you should not be editing. And
Hmm.
of course, I would find out from the client saying, hey, you know what? This isn't working anymore. And I'd go into it and I'm like, not only did I say don't touch that portion, but I also put in the documentation and I did a video and I did training with you. I didn't say all those things, right? So it would have been really, really nice if I was able to just click select a whole bunch of blocks that were just like, don't do it. Like this is solid, right? And that functionality is, I think, a really good example of it.
Now that
Now,
sounds like
for what
something
it's
that
worth,
can be,
I mean, for what it's worth, somebody just, I mean, I'm not exaggerating, but a plugin literally came out days ago that does that.
yeah. Well, I was going to say I've worked in a lot
But I think
further
it's,
back
I think
than that.
it's a vibe. Yeah.
Well, there's one. I think one of the members plugins allowed you to create an expanded list of roles that basically tackled exactly that. You can create a special, because I always
Yeah,
approach
but not on a block by block basis, right?
not on a block by block basis, but it
And I
would be
think, and
on a
that was the
page.
thing,
If a
right?
page had features such as those that you would want
Yeah.
not
Oh yeah,
monkey
totally. That's, I mean, I think almost every gating plugin, I mean, even going back to like, I mean, there's been stuff for years and years and years that gates that stuff.
yeah,
Years,
yeah.
but not block by block. So it was said, they said it was going to
Okay.
be put into 7, but that, I guess that never made it. I don't know the reasons. I didn't pay attention to it, but like I
Ours
said, there
is
was somebody
not the
who literally
reason
shipped it
why.
yesterday. Somebody shipped it. I can find the link. I think they shipped, I mean, legitimately shipped it within the last few days. But I know the person who shipped it is a vibe coder, and I'm not touching vibe coded stuff at all. So yeah, I'll find the link. I mean, I just saw
Okay,
it yesterday or something.
cool. Very
But
good.
simultaneous edit, man, that's a game changer. Simultaneous edit, you know?
I've always been so, you know, hesitant of that sort of thing because if you have, for one thing, when I'm working on a website, I make sure that the client only has usually like subscriber or yeah, subscriber access. So yeah, I want him to see what's going on. I don't want him to work against me, and even if it's a change of verbiage, you know, changes are done by some sort of message, email preferably because I like to archive all my emails. And in a perfect world, my clients would always send me really nice emails with really nice subject fields that are exactly correspond to what's the content of the email. I should be
You
so
know,
lucky, but
that does depend on the nature of the work and the client, right? I
and the
mean,
client,
this particular ex-client of mine is an old friend from almost, 20, 30 years ago. And it was, yeah, I was like honored to be able to help him out, right? You know what I mean? So I
mm,
barely charged the guy, and it's a matter of making people self-sufficient. But the simultaneous edit, if you think about it, the one of the blockers for people who are using WordPress in a medium to large enterprise company, a big blocker is this notion that I have edited a page and I've now passed the baton to the next person, right? And I mean, I'm not talking about like I'm an author and I'm passing it to the editor, right? The sequence of workflow. I'm talking about like one author wants to pass it to another author. And, that makes sense. Like, and there's nothing that makes that easy because if, Ed, you open up a page and I open up a page and we both start typing, you get the conflict, right? You have to legitimately talk to somebody else and say, all right, I'm done editing that page. Your turn to edit the page.
well,
And it,
I'm deeply attached to the concept of too many cooks spoil the broth, and that's absolutely the case. I've never really run across a situation where the client and I are working against each other.
no,
I'm aware,
I didn't mean you versus the client. I meant like the client has somebody who's in charge of marketing, and then they have the owner of the company, and the owner of the company wants to make a tweak, and the marketing person wants to make a tweak. Like I said, it's a medium. It's not a small business thing. It's not a solo business. It's not a small business. Usually, it starts happening when there's two simultaneous people. And
well,
I
this
had
is
it
where
years. I mean, think about this. I don't know if you've done, like I'm not sure if you've done like nonprofit websites where there's a whole bunch of people that oh my God, I can make a really quick edit, right? And
uh
they're doing it right after a committee meeting, right? 10 minutes later, two people editing it, and then how do you resolve that? And that's what that functionality should provide. And obviously, on if you pay for that WordPress VIP service, it's a killer feature, right? It's like Google Docs. You ever work with somebody on Google Docs simultaneously? I do it with my mom, right? You know what I mean? I do it
Well,
with
and
my mom.
that, I was going to
Yeah,
bring up
right.
that point.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
I ask for content, I don't have my clients put content directly into the site. If we're building a site, I have a document, a planning document where, it's laid out by page.
right.
Each page has information, the title of the page, keywords for the page, some other information for that page, and then the actual verbiage. I haven't done that in Google Docs yet, but I wouldn't have a major problem as long as the client lets me know, I'm making a change to this particular page, be on the lookout for it, or replace the page content with it. Um,
Yeah.
I mean,
But the
that's what
nice
it's
thing is
for.
you have that client control. You know what I mean? You won't,
Well,
you
but
host
but
client
after
websites, right?
after years of, as a La Jolla boy, I built the La Jolla Bar Association. You want
Yeah.
to talk about some cat wrangling? La Jolla Rotary Club, the Concerts by the Sea, the La Jolla Meals on Wheels, a number of these things which are typically strong-willed service providers, many of whom may not be in service for all the right reasons. So a long time ago, I think when I was building one of the DJ sites, and I came across a lady DJ who wanted to basically very combative, on that sort of thing, and I had to at that point in time make it. I'm not somebody who likes to make a lot of rules because something happens one time. But this, back when it happened, and we're talking years ago, back in the Dreamweaver stage, I could see where it would be a good idea for my paperwork to designate a person who is the liaison during the project. What and we always have a conversation about making sure they're using the roles properly. And I start from the very bottom, because we've all run across it. Everybody wants full administrative control. Screw that. We ask, what is it exactly that you need to do, and where is it that you need to do it, and we'll give you the role authority that corresponds with that. Because otherwise, you're just asking for trouble. And if it's in, and that's the thing, if it's in the paperwork, and you just cover it in such a way that you're basically telling them that you're bringing them something that is best practices from your experience, which is hopefully where they're hiring you from, that they trust it. It's right there. There will be one designee. So, if you guys want to discuss the content of a page, have at it. Have a meeting and just have that one person give me the instructions directly, and I will do what they say. And you guys can come up with that directive any way you want. Just
I
keep
wish I
that in
had
mind.
that luxury with some nonprofits. That would be a beautiful luxury.
Well, these are
Or
all
sitting, or
not
sitting,
for.
or sitting a whole bunch of different opinions down. Yeah, Doug is applauding. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well, yeah.
design does,
Or community
it's
groups, right?
yeah, it's like design by community, content by community, right? You know what I mean? And it gets worse. And it's like, I want this, I want this. I'm like, let's just get a Zoom
No
session together.
content from
Yeah. Hmm.
content by committee is death. You will drive
Oh,
yourself
I got
nuts.
that down.
Do
Yeah, I
you?
got that down. Oh
Well,
yeah,
you
I
might have a
designed
little mass.
this.
You might have a little masochism in your blood. 'Cause
No, no,
I
it's
just
easy to do if you have I mean, if you think about it, the cool thing, Edward, is that you've perfected the technique for if you want to have a feature
hardly.
added.
Yeah.
No. If I mean, you were saying it, you're hinting at it. If you want a feature added, just send me an email. You have a mechanism to capture that email into a to-do list of some type. You have a mechanism to, then proceed with it or comment back to it. You archive the emails over time. I mean, your to-do list could be your inbox. Your to-do list, right? You have your workflow for doing that. But I mean, Doug, I'm sure understands that if you get three conflicting emails, I'm like, no, homie ain't playing that game. Okay.
I won't do it. I learned a long time ago that no is an acceptable answer. You don't have to say it like a jerk. You don't have to be mean about it. You don't have to do, be some,
Diplomacy,
you
diplomacy. Yes.
be, yeah,
Tact.
you don't have to be a
My
jerk about
answer, by the way, I'll share some documents. My answer is you guys have everyone has access to the Google Doc. There's only one. Everyone has access to the Google Sheet. There's only one. You guys simultaneously edit. And when you feel that you're done enough with that and everybody is given a thumbs up of sorts,
it. Yeah.
you then tell me, or together we pick a date. You know what I mean? We say Monday, 12 noon Pacific time. It's the deadline. And if you don't do it by that date, I mean, I'm billing you extra, right? And they'll learn. Doug's laughing again. You know what I mean? This is the
Yeah.
way.
Well,
This is the
here's
way.
where we get to,
I
one thing
didn't
that
invent this,
I
by
like
the
the
way. This
billing
is
you
not my
extra, which
invention.
is
It's
deserved.
just not
well,
my
there's
invention.
two aspects of being a
Yeah.
developer. There's your skills as a developer, and then your skills as a developer. And customer not care, but customer communication is a big part of it because somebody like yourself, David, you're a 10th level black belt at what you do, and you have earned the right to stand firm. Again, assertive but not aggressive. And I mean, there's always the whole, well, I could do it that way, but I'm going to have to charge you this much more if you want me to wrangle cats for you. That my hourly is this, but my hourly for dealing with what should be your headache and really is an unnecessary part of website development. This should be going on in your boardroom or your lunchroom or whatever. You guys should be talking about this stuff over drinks, whatever. Just I know what's best, and I know what drives me crazy, and you end up with a patchwork. You end up with the Winchester mystery house of websites, and it's like, oh, interesting, but sucks. Anyway, let's let's
All
roll
right. I want
forward.
to say for the record, I'm not a tenth on the black belt. It's not my Dan, but
Ninth,
um, no. No,
eighth.
I mean, what? No, man, you're in the eighth level. Steve is in
He
the eighth
he
level.
sells he sells himself
Brendan
short. He sells
Brendan is a
himself short.
tenth. Brendan's a tenth. No, Brendan's wearing the red and white. Okay, I'm giving Brendan the quality here. I feel like with Brendan, I just turned into your wingman. Brendan's
Well,
wearing the red and white. Okay,
I like to think of myself as eternally a white belt, and
I'm with you.
but
I get it.
I am willing to say no, and I have groveled. When I first started doing this, I'll make this a quick aside. I started, I started building websites in WordPress.com, and it was only when I went firearm shopping, and I found this website that was so horrible that I realized that my skills were already at a point where I could improve that website. That's how I started doing it commercially. I wasn't ready to take on the mantle of expert, and and it's absolutely true. I am always fraught with imposter syndrome, and I recognize the difference between being a really good coder and an amazing technician in WordPress, which I'm not. I'm really not. My job is to understand the platform really well and help my clients do marketing with it. And I don't have to do it at the highest level technically in order to get them marketing results that will benefit them. So yeah, I'm a white belt, guys. But I appreciate you saying that, David. So let's go on to more design control, fewer workarounds. There's evidently a new and improved gallery, which is good to know because gallery's taken some twists and turns over the years that I haven't always been thrilled with. I welcomed when we got to the point where I no longer needed to use plugins to present a decent slideshow, lightbox sort of thing. I was thrilled. And then some subsequent modifications came along where it was like, well, wait a second, what happened to that feature we used to have that I really like to use? So I'm looking forward to playing with that. Headings. I spend a lot of, well, not a lot of time, but I put a lot of weight on making sure that I remain regular. And I'm not talking about brand zero. Regular in my usage of headings and for both stylistic and for SEO results. So any help I can get from the core in that regard, awesome. Because some of the Gutenberg controls, you got to go search for them. They're not quite as obvious as I need them to be as a white belt. Breadcrumbs and icons blocks. Responsive controls can hide or reveal blocks by device size. Having that as a quick setting, I look forward to that. Because usually it's the theme that kind of dictates that sort of thing by and large for me. Navigation overlays can be built with blocks and patterns. I'm not sure. Navigation overlay. That should be. Have you guys played with this? I'm not sure I'm understanding that feature. Anyone care to explain it to me? The guy running the PowerPoint doesn't know what he's talking about. Anyway,
didn't you say you're not using 7 yet?
I'm not.
What are you doing?
Well, I mean,
ChatGPT
no.
uses 7, and yeah.
Right.
Well, it dropped 7. I was waiting for 7.0.1 really, and it dropped 4 days ago, and 2 of those days was on the weekend, so I haven't gotten around to it, but yeah, I mean, I will I'm at the point where I have no problem if I'm doing an update for a client to take them out of 6.0 point whatever to into the 7.0 world. I think we've seen enough. I mean, 31 bug fixes tells me that the WordPress developer world has been busy at work beta testing it for me. That's one of the beauties of this community that we belong to. There's a lot of people on it that so 31 bug fixes. Well, okay, I'll go ahead and risk that. I don't see it as a huge risk at this point, especially as vocal as WordPress developers tend to be. If they didn't do a good job on this particular patch, we would certainly be hearing about it, and we will anyway.
Just take good backups that you can restore quickly.
Always back up, and back up your backups.
Kind of funny. I was not intending to do WordPress 7 until 7.01, 7.02. That's my usual thing. But WP Engine updated a client's website, and I didn't find out for like days later. And all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, I got to restore, right? And there were edits that were done. So I'm like, crap, man. Restore. No, I'm not going to go back and try to find it. So I've been sitting on 7 now.
Yeah.
I'd rather be lucky than good. Very wise man said that once, and I love it when I'm the beneficiary. So back to what I didn't understand, the navigation overlays. I'm going to look into that. Patterns can act as a unit, then be detached for individual control, which is great. Being able to set up repeatable modules throughout the website, which can, especially if you're doing any of your own marketing and putting ads and putting your features on pages that are ranking well, could be really nice to be able to throw in, newsletter sign up or a section of blocks that does a really good job of having people sign up for an audit or just even contacting you. So that'll be cool. Custom CSS can be added at the individual block level, which of course we've been able to do, but it wasn't exactly as friendly as some. When I was more comfortable in WYSIWYG, before I realized that I was giving away a lot of performance for the ability to do all those bells and whistles.
Can I just say for the record, it's one of the worst features that was added to 7.
Oh yeah,
Bad.
tell me about it. What
I mean,
what did you?
Brendan will understand this hopefully, is that a lot of these AI products that glom onto WordPress are putting custom CSS onto pages, onto posts, and now they're putting it into individual blocks. And it's like good luck finding them later on, right? And they're duplicating code. It's well, not all of them, right? But some of the older ones that were early on. I know yeah, I know one of them it still does it. So I mean you understand what I mean, Brendan, right? You know what I mean? They just shove
Putting
in
putting
they put
everything as
in
an HTML element.
yeah, well that's the worst of the worst, right? But now that
Yeah.
I think it's the product that shall go unnamed that is inserting CSS onto post. And now I've seen it adding into a block. I'm like, uh-oh, uh-oh,
Managing worst practices.
uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, uh-oh.
All right, well, good points. The mobile question gets more interesting. Responsive visibility is now a core capability, which is nice. No more having to rely on it's something that can change if you change themes or whatever. Differ more intentionally, more control of the various platform possibilities. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing WordPress for what 17 years now, and I've leaned heavily in the past, or I've leaned heavily on avoiding builders. Once I understood what I was signing up for, actually, I'll tell you, there was a project where somebody came to me where the particular builder, and I forget what it was, just they stopped supporting it. So essentially, their entire website had all this captured content, and there was nothing to do but copy paste. There was no import. There was no hope of import whatsoever, and it ended up being a booger of a project, and frustrating for me as a developer, and having to go back to the client and say, well, guess what? Cha-ching. Clients don't like extra cha-ching, I've noticed. And this project was all about cha-ching because he already had a decent website. Modern, laid out intelligently. He's, one of the top DJ companies in San Diego, and suddenly something that he had been relying upon just let him down. And we had to redo a lot of that sort of stuff. And it cost coin. So hopefully that'll give us less reason to look to builders. More control also creates more ways to make a mess. Well, yeah, I think we can all, it's like owning a Dremel tool. You, you want to be careful where you're swinging that axe, Eugene. So, okay, discuss. Who should be trusted with these controls? And me is not the answer. Thoughts,
One, one,
guys?
one thing I'll just add real quick is that in 7.1, they're also adding responsive styling. So, we'll get mobile and tablet responsive controls finally after 10 years in Gutenberg.
God, it's weird to think that Gutenberg's been out that long.
Yeah,
Yikes.
just past 10 years.
Yeah, geez. I remember when it first came out, I just about swallowed my tongue. Um, it was, it's been out for 10 years now. Well, a
But
lot of these tech,
they said for many years that they would never add responsive styling controls, but that they were, working on intrinsic styling or whatever they called it. And that didn't go over too hot. So now they're actually going to add actual responsive styling, which, that's welcome.
very good, very good, very good. Um, well, I think this one's kind of a moot point. Should I upgrade right now? We've determined that they fixed 31 core and block editor bugs. Um, so as far as, yeah, you don't want to make your site that you've got a lot of hours into suddenly a beta machine. And for that reason, waiting for most things, most sub patches, if it's a point oh or especially a point one update, third digit update, it's just some security tweak, something relatively minor. If it's a second digit, it's a little bit more major. But typically, when we go full version, we're no longer in Kansas, Toto. And so a wise man waits a little bit to do those updates. And having that conversation with, a lot of my clients would trust me to do their updates anyway. But I'm not a huge fan of WP Engine or managed WP, those things, because not only do they bypass the whole idea of automatic of holding off for prudency reasons, but they can also it's just ill-advised. I don't like how they'll put limits on some of my favorite plugins and what have you. So when in doubt, don't. But I'd say that most of us are at the point where we're ready to roll forward on 7, as long as you update to 7.0.1. And a checklist for updates. Of course, before you do any major sort of change like this, you do a complete backup of files and database. So you have something to roll back to. Make sure you know how to restore. Yeah, okay. I've had restore functions change, where the way we used to restore might have been reliable, but now it's not. That sort of thing. So make sure you know how to restore before you take a crack at it, because you may end up corrupting your backup and doing your client a disservice. Update maintain plugins and themes first. Okay. Yeah, before we go mucking with the core itself. Check compatibility and recent support activity. There's a particular plugin that you lean heavily upon, it's not a bad idea to take advantage of the codecs and it's how they lay things out as far as, support, how long it's been since something has been, if you don't want to go ahead and switch to a new version, and you've got a really important plugin that hasn't updated itself. The team hasn't updated it in 3 months or 6 months, or they stop at 2 years if you don't update a plugin or a theme, I believe, in 2 years, they just yank you off the approved plugins list. But a whole lot of damage can happen before we get there. Use staging when the site matters. I would say absolutely. Some of you more experienced guys, you want to have some thoughts on staging sites?
I think this is all basic stuff that everybody in the room knows.
Yeah, I mean, I do it.
Well, we
This is
always
all
keep
like
in mind, we're always keeping in mind there's a replay audience beyond, if there's 6 of us here, there might be 62 actual people that are watching on the replay. So we want to
hello replay people.
Yeah,
replay.
Come join us.
Yes, exactly. We're here the second Monday, 6 p.m. Be there or be elsewhere. Note custom code, snippets. Yeah, well, of course, if you're using custom code, which I avoid, if I can make changes within the core, I don't like going outside of it.
I have a
Just
question
asking for trouble. Shoot.
pertaining to staging and or testing plugins and whatnot. What are people using? What do they like? As far as that's concerned, any third-party stuff, or they just have their wherever they're doing their hosting, that whatever's provided with that, they're just using that. I'm curious if anyone's got any third-party resources, and or there's a number of resources having to do with sites that just spin up like that to test plugins.
Steve, you have any thoughts on that?
nothing third party.
Brendan?
For staging or
For staging.
Staging, and then the spin up stuff are like temporary. You can find stuff like that that's good for a day or a week or whatever time period they are. That this stuff, it's like that's what they do with a lot of the plugin stuff on the WordPress.org. It's like try this out, and boom, it just spins up a quick WordPress site with the plugin in it, so you can look at it, and then it kills it whatever time period after that.
yeah, I mean, I have Insta WP. I think you were talking about Zip WP. That's
I've
one
got
option.
InstaWP as well, so I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
I've used WP Vivid successfully for that, but it's not like part of my. I mean, actually, WP Vivid's part of my stack, but that feature I've only used a couple of times.
Right.
WP Vivid's a solid tool to have in your stack.
Yeah.
That's a good backup tool for sure. And I know they have staging too.
Yeah.
Me too. I've used
Okay,
it. I've
good.
used it too.
And then we update the WordPress core. Of course, after you do your updates, you want to clear your caches so you're not delivering archaic content or conflicting content. Of course, you want to test your forms, your checkout, your login, navigation, mobile, and key pages. You don't want to find out the next day that a big order came through at 3 a.m. and you couldn't take it because the update didn't allow it. That can piss off a client.
Yep.
Not that I have personal experience with that, but we can all imagine. All my clients are nice folks. That's the thing. Watch logs, analytics, and user reports after launch.
When you've been doing it a while, you learn that you want to have nice clients and you refer the other ones elsewhere.
Yeah,
Right.
well, that's why I was saying about it's okay to say no. I started to say that when I first started doing WordPress websites, I started because I had no competence in them, so I would do like I swear to God, I would do like a $297 website, you know, and then I would just creep them up, you know, then it would be $397 and I'd run a $497 special. And along the way, I'm adding more deliverables outside of just the pure
More
website.
value. More value.
More value added, yeah. Um, but yeah, the and I've been there where it's like, God, I really need this $500. So I'm gonna go ahead. Every red flag and klaxon horn is going on around this client. I know. I mean, it's like a potential girlfriend. You know she's crazy, and yet we're gonna go ahead and step on the slippery slope anyway, because the money is attractive, and I'm glad to have gotten to the point where I was confident enough to just say, you know what, I don't think, and this is how I sell my discovery calls. When I make appointments for a discovery call, I say, yeah, let's talk and see if we're a good fit. And I believe that that's true because somebody, you know, I am not the most patient I've gotten a whole lot better over the years, but I'm not the most patient person in certain regards. I like to say I suffer fools more gladly than I do. But there's nothing worse than having somebody who believes that because they wrote you a check, they now own you. Unless you're somebody like Doug who's offering hosting, which is totally different animal entirely, I'm sure. But yeah, it's nice to be able to say no. What's next? Okay. What matters most in 7.0? AI infrastructure is the long game, not the flashy demo. There's a lot yet to be seen. And I think some exciting stuff is awaiting us. I think as we go along, we'll discover some of these points that we've been looking at. We don't have experience yet, but I think we'll find that they do deliver in the long run. Hopefully, is my fervent wish. Responsive controls move more everyday design power into the core. Great. Font management and revision solve real workflow annoyances. I'm always up for those. Something that'll streamline the process, make it more, more intuitive, easier to work with. Yeah, and this is an absolute truth. I mean, over the years, we've seen a lot of things we used to look to plugins to perform visually, functionally, what have you. The community, went ahead and built it into the core. This is something that was getting a lot of downloads, so let's see if we can't build it in. And that's always cool when that happens, which is why WordPress continues to be the dominant by head, shoulders, knees, and toes above other CMSs in terms of popularity. I mean, and for the typical user, not the super users like we have here. Is WordPress becoming simpler or simply more powerful? Any philosophers want to take a shot at that question?
I don't think it's gotten any simpler.
I don't think
I
it's
mean,
getting simpler.
it's gotten simpler because of experience, but not. I don't think I don't think a new
No,
person today would be any, easier or I don't think it's any easier to understand from the beginning
well,
today.
they haven't flattened the learning curve.
They haven't? Is that what you're saying?
No, they haven't. There's still a learning
They have
curve.
not, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's the same. I mean, I think if I was starting now, I think it'd be more difficult to learn than before.
I think there's actually a false implication or a false inference that WordPress is easier because you now can allow AI to handle a lot of the more mundane tasks of assembling a WordPress installation. But I have no doubt that you can still create a really shitty website,
Oh yeah.
WordPress, if you're, you know, if you're only looking for its technical abilities and not its marketing capabilities and how effective it is in achieving the client's business goals, site goals. I mean, hell, even just workload relief goals. That's one of the great things about WordPress that got me into it. It's the fact that it saved me. I could spend less time on the boring stuff, and because that was being streamlined and continues to be so by and large, and can spend more time on having conversations with the client, finding more about their business, finding out about a particular income stream that they offer, that they have. Every client, one of the things that I like to go in after is every business has something that, usually because of their expertise and experience in the particular industry or whatever, something they can do. Like the mechanic who takes one listen to your car, grabs a screwdriver and fixes it because he's been turning a wrench for 40 years. So there's 40 years of experience that just went into knowing to do that. And so yeah, that ability to spend more time on talking about their marketing and helping them. I've got a plumber who loves to install hot water heaters. You can do those all day long because they're low effort, high profit. And so having time to inquire and client, I tell you, clients really like that. They like when you say, well, that's something that you earned. You've earned that ability, and it is something that is of great value to the market. And there's nothing wrong with being able to crank them out all day long. There's no shame in making money, as long as your primary purpose is to serve the client. And generally speaking, unless you put a real spotlight on how much money, geez, I bought that hot water heater for $50 and I sold it to you for $400, Mr. Client. Probably not a clever conversation to have, but if it saves them on their water bill, if it saves them on their well, usually the cost of their water, they don't care. The latest technology heats up immediately and is very efficient and all these things. So okay, so next slide is okay. This is redundant. We've gone down these roads. Oh, that was our last slide. We've answered that. What changed or broke for you? What do you use? How about this? What worries you about AI becoming infrastructure in WordPress?
Say the fact that you can add the AI connectors right now, and there's no way to like see how much you've spent. Really, I mean, unless you really know what you're doing. I mean, I think there's people that probably will add their API keys from OpenAI or Anthropic and somehow manage to rack up a bunch of token spend and not really know what they're doing. So I
Yeah, it's
think,
already happening. Right,
yeah,
right. And
I imagine it's a
I'm
matter of,
also I'm also surprised that there's no clear guidance or instructions for their limited set of API keys, in so much that they don't say here's the page to go to. You need to create an account. Here's how you do it. Go ahead and log in. And most importantly, create some new keys so you can rotate later on if you need to, right?
Right. Or
I
put a
mean, I don't
cap on
think
your
there's,
spending or something.
oh yeah, there's, I mean,
I would imagine,
I mean,
I've seen,
totally, yeah.
we've all probably seen the commercials for Rocket Money, where it's basically a financial tool that amongst its other features, it allows you to track your subscriptions and easily manage them. Especially if you have duplication, if you're spending too much on this particular, a particular a particular app, what have you. I gotta imagine that there's somebody out there who's working on putting together a plugin that's going to do that for us. Because that's a really good point you made, Brendan. Staying on top of,
Yeah.
that we haven't just handed our wallet over to a drunk college kid.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about like just API key hygiene that I think people don't really think about. I mean, also like people are working with clients, right? Like when you go into your OpenAI account, you should probably create I don't know if they call them organizations or projects or something, like isolate your keys for one particular client to that project and put some kind of cap on the spending there and bill your client for that stuff. I think people are probably reusing keys across sites, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, they definitely are. No question about it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but especially people, I mean, it's kind of weird to a certain extent that, I mean, if you think about it, this notion of adding the API keys without those instructions I was mentioning to a certain extent is all, that's all API keys 101, right? Bring your own keys. It's all stuff that I just, I'm just a bum that people are already learning it the hard way. I'm not on Twitter that much, but I see on X stuff I feed, people like, I got a $1,200 bill for blah, blah, blah. Or, there's also people that are on Reddit that are complaining about Elementor and the way Elementor does their credit system that are getting burned by it because they don't know, right? They're given these weird prompts, which doesn't seem weird to them, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, of course, this is how you do it, right? They don't know. And
Right.
next thing you know, they find out like 20 days later, right? When their monthly
Right.
bill comes up, that that they got all these credits, right? Or
Well,
they
a
pre-bought
lot of these
a
products,
credit packet. It's like, yeah.
a lot of these products have been around long enough that they've undergone ownership changes. Maybe even multiple times. And where I've seen it is where you have somebody who goes, you can see the thinking behind the transaction. Oh, here's a plugin that's got 500,000 downloads. Maybe I should own that. And they get in there and start making money-based decisions instead of service and product-based decisions. And next thing you know, they're stepping on their Johnson and either getting removed. I've seen it happen, getting
Hmm.
removed from the codex for maybe allowing malware or something like that. To it just no longer is as good of a product as it was. They just changed out the entire portal unnecessarily, and now I don't want to use that thing anymore. So
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed. I mean, I, I don't know how to say this. I don't think that the folks at Automatic that drove this AI initiative home and all the separate pieces that eventually made it into seven, I don't think there was a grand vision for how to do it. And I'm a little bit bummed that a lot of people are already experiencing and are continuing to experience um, very old school techniques in AI. And by the way, when I say old school AI techniques, I'm talking about like February 2025
6
techniques,
months. Yeah.
right? Exactly, right? And because the state of the art is so not only so far past it, but it's like the workflows and the best practices will never be in WordPress. And I think it's a real bummer. And
This
also,
isn't
I
your
think the
And
grandfather's
James
ChatGPT.
LePage is gone now. I mean, he left Automatic, and he was leading a lot of that stuff, right? So
I think they just had to say, I mean, listen, how many other products say that we have to have AI, right? You know what I mean? It has to have AI, and I think that if it's coming from, people who just don't use it on a regular basis, then um they think it's one thing, right? I mean, I am at the point where I'm not going to use MCPs anymore. I'm at the point where I've played around with WordPress, 6.9.4 with a little bit of the first abilities, and I was like, hey, let's install this plugin. You know what I mean? I have a site that's like, let's put this one in, let's put this one in. And I type something in there, and next thing you know, it's creating an ACF form, right? Because ACF had the abilities, but I had WS forms on there, right? WS forms light. And I was like, damn, you know what? I never prompted it. I never said use the abilities in WS form. It just went ahead and just did the ACF beta that I had installed. And I think that over time, the more people that come out with abilities, which is happening rapidly, the more that people are going to do these smoke tests, right? They're just going to look at a website and they're going to click around, right? They can be like, hey, it works, yay! But fundamental architecture doesn't necessarily mean that it was done the right way. And I think also, there are people who have agencies that all of a sudden they're going to find they created an outstanding, fundamentally wonderful architected site. And somebody just came in and installed blah, blah, blah plugin, which a lot of people see, and they vibe coded some additional feature, which of course then said, it's like people going on to, what's that one website that people buy themes from?
Theme
They go
Forest?
Oh, Theme
Theme
Forest.
Forest. You go into Theme Forest and it says install these 8 plugins before you can use it. But folks don't necessarily know that maybe you need one of them if you really do, right? There's no additional functionality, and I fear that more people are going to walk in the door where they're going to end up installing these other things because it's going to say, "Oh, this other feature has abilities." Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's a kind of a bummer to a certain extent that it may not have been thought out architecturally from a big picture standpoint. Listen, it's cool, you know. I think that all right, now I'm gonna wax philosophically about this. All right,
Do it.
as if I haven't already, right? It's one thing to create a website, right? It's another thing to create pages with AI within WordPress. It's another thing to create blog entries because that stuff is intense. That stuff is good in WordPress. If I need to add content, that stuff is good, right? I mean, it's not that harder than copying and pasting out of ChatGPT. But the moment I need any reworking of stuff, the moment I need to have, you know, schema updated on a site, because I already know there's a schema plugin, so I'm going to say, add schema. It There's no plan that's involved, right? It just is going to go ahead and try its best, depending on what you're using, right? If you're using Cody, it's going to do one thing. If you're using Angie, it's going to do a different thing, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
you know, it's the worst of the non-deterministic, and I think that's again, it's February 2025 techniques. It's just going to yield more vibe-coded websites that are. I mean, I was saying before, right, that these things are just adding in HTML and they're just adding in CSS and they're duplicating it, right? Yeah, that makes sense, right? They're going to change the color here and they're going to change the color here and they're going to change the color here. Next thing you know, it's like all you got to do is go for global colors, right? That's all you got to do is look for globals, right? Don't insert CSS all over the place because next year it's going to be really hard to dig yourself out of it, right?
Hmm.
You know, and it's us in this room right now because we all are WordPress peeps, right? We all kind of run agencies in some kind of way. It's going to be on us to fix these things, right? You
Well,
know,
and
how much
I
time
think
am I going to
that's,
spend clicking around? I'm going to click around, right? I'm going to click and click and click and
you
click until I
almost say
find it,
that like
right?
it's a bad thing.
a
I
terrible
mean,
thing.
that's,
No, it's terrible. It's bad, 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 right?
well, it is and it isn't. I mean, if you look at it in terms of a lot of people are looking to AI to take their jobs, we have already seen how AI, you can still do a bad job with AI. AI is not done. I'm not ready to turn, the reins over to my AIs because I've seen it make too many obvious mistakes. I love how it streamlines things for me, and it's awesome, but it ain't perfect. And as long as there are people who are still going to get bad results, because at the end of the day,
I
it's the
think
results.
I think it's actually for a lot of people not near perfect because the techniques are not obvious. It's like this prompt and then prompt again, and it doesn't do what you want the first time, so you change the prompt, you add on and you add on, you add on. And that's what people are learning. It's enforced in WordPress, right? Does
Well,
that make
this is
sense?
why I showed
I
you
know
guys my.
anyone who's played with AI within WordPress knows what I'm talking about, right? It encourages vibe coding because you prompt and you prompt and you prompt and you prompt.
Well, remember that you are training your AI. So I showed you guys my master prompt because I use and I've been focusing on ChatGPT, which I realize there's other things that do aspects of ChatGPT far better. But I'm looking at it in terms of just really getting good at ChatGPT because that's the one that I'm most likely to be called upon to help a client with. It's more
Oh, and
likely that they're
it
going to
writes
be
good
having.
copy too, right? There's some good copy
Yeah,
that
no,
comes
no,
in.
no. It's got great benefits, but I mean, I am considered, because I've asked it, in terms of, how many users they have, and considering all the different areas of life that I use it for. I'm a pretty advanced user, and I've gotten to the point where I'm pretty much over much of any imposter syndrome that might have cropped up regarding AI. But like I showed you guys my master prompt sheet, I keep on my desktop a text file that has, if I run across a situation where GPT is doing something annoying, I will add it to my master list of prompts so I can remind it. I'm basically guiding it. It's like, dude, you're drifting on me. I need you to focus. I don't need all the sycophancy. I don't need all the, attaboy Edward that you might be inclined to give me. I love it. Thank you very much. I'm humbled by it, but at the end of the day, I need you to streamline my life. I don't want to spend a lot of time reading fluff. And that we're training our AIs, so don't be afraid to set up a text file where your pet peeves with your particular AIs show up, and from time to time, copy and paste that sucker in as a chat. And there's no downside to it. It's so easy to grab text off of a text file, copy it in, especially if I know I'm about to tackle something where I need it to be accurate. I don't want to take a trip in Willy Wonka land. Please give me answers that I
No,
can rely on.
I don't want you to take this as a negative here, Edward, but that stuff got solved like November, right?
Solved?
This is solved, done, easy. You don't have to tolerate any of that. You're using, and then I'm just making up a date here, February, I said before, February 2025 techniques, right? This, it's you're using ChatGPT. Have you ever used the instructions feature? You give it, and you start learning. You got to make a project for each little thing. You got to use the instructions file. Google it. No, use ChatGPT. Say, how do I use the ChatGPT instruction
So
set?
basically set up like preferences for every project.
Yeah, they're kind of preferences in a way, but you can also
Yeah.
say, you can also say, this particular thing, I wanted to do these instructions consistently. Always, it's kind of like a memory in a way, right? And that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not saying, listen, the worst part about all this is that people are learning this shit on YouTube from people that are just looking for clicks and likes and subscribes, right? A lot of people aren't even doing it. The problem
It's the
is that
internet.
the instructions feature is freaking awesome,
Yeah.
right? But I stumbled upon it, right? You know what I mean? It's like, I lucked out, right? But, you know,
I
listen,
can't say I'm not aware of it. I haven't taken full advantage of it, and
dude,
for
it
thanks for
rocks.
prompting me.
It
Uh,
rocks. It's really good.
yeah,
You can actually take a good portion of your pre-made um list of things. I'm oversimplifying it, right? Take your pre-made list of things. There's also some really nice techniques that are out there. I'm gonna type here, okay? And you don't have to listen this, you don't have to take this shit, right? Um the hang on for a second here. Let me use the swanny
and
verbiage here. Okay. So there's this thing where you can
I
do
will
must
let you
must
guys hang on a second. I will let you know we just lost lands, so I want to be mindful of people's time. So I want to stop the recording. Maybe you could hold that for a second.
totally.
David, we'll do it in the parking lot. Parking lot is when we hang out after the meeting. It's not going to be as long as a parking lot. We've had parking lots that go for 2-3 hours. I'm too fried. I've had too long of a day to keep it open for that long, unless I make one of you guys co-host, So before I close out the meeting, and I want to thank you guys for a really interesting conversation and discussion. And it was really nice to see you, Doug, coming back. I hope you'll come visit us again and feel free to contribute because especially you have a special skill set that any of us can benefit from. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day as far as this group. Thanks for being here as always. If you make sure that you check the replay a little further down the road. No promises how long it'll take me to get it up there. But remember to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share it if especially if there's a particular discussion you want to pass on to somebody. We could use more members. We have some quality members that we've got here, but we can use more. So with that, we're gonna call it a night. Have a great rest of your day, unless you had other plans.